Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Adam. Welcome back to another filmic review, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 1998 film Armageddon from Michael Bay. Why am I talking about this film now? Well, last year Disney worked with Michael Bay for a 4K remaster of the film. They showed it on December the 6th in Los Angeles in the cinema, and Disney has promised that it's coming out in the first quarter of 2025. So by the time you're watching this, it most likely has been released. As of recording this video, there's been no details of what the release is or what will come on the release. But there has been a couple of different releases in the past of this film, and today I want to get into and talk about the Criterion edition of Armageddon, as it has a very special version of the film here and extras which are exclusive to this edition. For anybody who hasn't seen Armageddon, like I said, Michael Bay directed it, came out in 1998, starred Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck, Billy Bob Thornton, and a whole host of other actors. In fact, it was Owen Wilson's first time on the screen, and Michael Clarke Duncan. And I gotta say, everybody did a stellar job. Michael Bay worked with NASA and had a NASA consultant on the film, and the same NASA consultant not only consulted with Armageddon, but also consulted on the other film that had the exact kind of same premise, Deep Impact. Now, Deep Impact came out a couple of months before Armageddon, and I think really contributed to the backlash that Armageddon got. Although Armageddon actually was written in the late 80s, early 90s by J.J. Abrams and a couple of other people who went on to be directors as well. But they couldn't really bring it out unless it was going to be a proper B movie because of all the special effects that would have needed to be done. It wasn't until the late 90s that it was actually technically possible to do justice to this film, and that's where Michael Bay came on the project and delivered, I think, a stellar job. The film is really good. The premise is that an asteroid is coming towards Earth, and NASA find out 18 days before it's going to impact, and after a little bit of deliberation they decide that the only way to stop and prevent the destruction of mankind is to send up a team of deep core drillers to mine a shaft into the core of the asteroid, drop a nuke, and get out of there before it explodes. Now, I won't go on any more of the story. Most everybody's probably seen it, but I really did enjoy it. I think it was really good. The only real differences between this film and Deep Impact is that Armageddon is just a thrill ride. It's a pure entertainment piece that looks cool. It takes liberties and licenses with events that take place in space, but it's only really meant to thrill you and send you on a roller coaster ride of things that look cool, whereas Deep Impact was a little bit more grounded, a little bit more of a what if situation than Armageddon was. And plus, our Deep Impact came out 2 to 3 months before Armageddon, so people had already had this story, seen a film like it, and when Armageddon came out drastically different, it was kind of like a moment. And even though it had a budget of $140 million and took $553 million at the box office, it really was kind of slated on its release. Not many people, especially non-Michael Bay fans, really sort of going, yeah, this is crap. You don't have fire in space. You don't have explosions happening the way it did. It's a bit unrealistic. I mean, to be honest, that premise of landing on an asteroid is probably more realistic in today's world than it was in 1998. But drilling into an asteroid that is made up of metals and rocks, dropping a nuke and getting out of there is more far-fetched than the Deep Impact story was. So I can understand the backlash. But personally, I remember seeing it. I don't remember seeing it in the cinema. I might have, but I don't remember. The first time I do remember seeing it is when my sister's then boyfriend came round with his PC and a copy of Armageddon on DVD, and I watched it in my bedroom for the first time, and I was just blown away. I loved it. I loved the humor of it. I loved the drama of it, the action of it, and everything did look cool. And of course, the song at the end by Aerosmith. Like, every actor in this film has a real good job of not only having funny moments and being genuinely funny, and then having dramatic, serious moments and being really good at those. Like, the dynamic range of acting is there fully for every single actor, whereas Deep Impact, it wasn't really funny, it was more of a dramatic thriller with a bit of a deep emotion. This one, Armageddon, just a thrill ride. I think a lot of people were expecting a bit more reality based, but the intention of Michael Bay was just to deliver a fun story that looks cool and will thrill you for 2 hours, and that is it. I think anybody expecting anything else would be disappointed, but for me, I would say I recommend the film. Give it a 8 or 9 out of 10. Go watch it. So let's talk about the different releases on home media this had, and take a more in-depth look at this Criterion edition here, because this one is a very special one, and as you can see, it is the DVD version. The exact same version of what you get on here did come out on Laserdisc, but right now it's about £101 to buy the Laserdisc version of this version of the film, whereas this only cost me a tenner off eBay. It doesn't come up every now, like, doesn't come up loads of times. There's not loads of copies on eBay, but when they do, they range between £10 and £30. This is actually out of print by Criterion. They no longer print this. They never released it on Blu-ray. They haven't released it on 4K. The reason being is it's a Touchstone Films production. Disney own it, so most likely they never got the rights to do a Blu-ray version of this, or a 4K, because I'm very sure they would have. It is a very popular title in their catalogue. It's catalogue number 40, and they definitely would have released it if they could have on Blu-ray, but Disney own the rights to it, and Disney released the Blu-ray. But what other versions have there been before we dive into this? Well, it is available on VHS as a standalone, just the film only, nothing else. All the picture transfers of what I'm about to say now, like for the VHS, the DVD, the Blu-ray, all stem from the same master. This actually has a completely different master, and we'll get into this in a second. So you got the VHS copy. I remember having a copy of that on VHS for some time, and then there was an initial, when DVD first launched, a DVD version with the words widescreen in the top, all over the cover, and it was a flipper disc. So it was side A, side B, kind of like a Laserdisc, and it really did come from the same master as that, a Laserdisc, and obviously it was available on Laserdisc as well. And then some years later, there was a Blu-ray release from Disney with some extras that weren't on the DVD, although there was a 2-disc version of the DVD with the same extras that you found on the Blu-ray. Obviously, the Blu-ray having a much better picture quality because it's higher resolution, less noise, and probably, compared to all the versions, the Blu-ray is the one. I do actually have somewhere the Blu-ray version, but I actually prefer this version because the version on here does not appear anywhere else, and a lot of the extras are exclusive to the Criterion version. So what do we get if you buy the Criterion version? Well, that is the front case there, a nice black classic with the word Armageddon, with a nice Earth Horizon and Criterion Collection at the top, and then on the back there it has just what it says it has on the disc, just your very bog standard stuff. And when you crack open the case, it is a 2-disc set. So you've got the 1 disc here, the 2 disc here, and you have a sort of pamphlet book as well. On the booklet, it's a fold-out 4-page, or 3-page, I thought it was 4, 3-page thing. It has a little bit of a write-up by someone called Janine Desinger. Janine Desinger was actually Michael Bay's tutor when he was in college, and she basically sucks dick about Michael Bay throughout this whole thing, saying how brilliant he is. It's really interesting to read. It's a bit hard to read as well because of the print, the blue against the black. You got your chapter stops here, and then the DVD credits on the back. Now, disc 1 features the director's cut of the film. Now, the director's cut only really has about 5 minutes difference running time between the theatrical, which is available on every other format, and this version. There is basically one major scene that was inserted that Michael Bay wanted in. He wanted it in the theatrical version, but it was cut out to save pacing. And a lot of the other scenes are slightly extended because of graphic content to achieve a certain rating in the cinema. This is actually the R-rated version. So this is the only place that you can get an R-rated version director's cut of Armageddon. And on disc 1, the director's cut says here contains previously unseen footage, but is a new digital transfer that Michael Bay actually supervised. I don't know if he actually supervised the theatrical transfer that was then put out on VHS, DVD, Laserdisc, and Blu-ray, but he did on this one. He actually worked with Criterion Collection on this version of the film, providing also a commentary, which you can find on the first disc. There are 2 commentary tracks. The first one has Michael Bay, Jerry Bruckheimer, Bruce Willis, and Ben Affleck, and it does sound like they're all recorded separately because that no one ever talks to each other, but they all kind of intercut throughout the movie, and it is a really good commentary track. Ben Affleck is just so hilariously funny in the commentary track. It is worth picking this up just for the commentary track. Now, you can find that commentary track on YouTube, on a YouTube channel, if it's still going when you're watching this, called MB Archives. I'll link it down below so you can go and listen to that first audio comment track. It is so worth it. It's really not only interesting from the point of view of Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer, where they're technically talking about the film or they're talking candidly about the film, but also from the actors as well, giving their insights, giving their memories of filming and just having fun, whilst doing it, taking the piss out of the movie as well. There's a famous line that Ben Affleck says that I'm sure everybody knows, when he said, why did we get drillers to go to space? Wouldn't it be better just to train astronauts to drill? And Michael Bay turns and says, just shut the fuck up, mate. This is the way it's happening. And it's just really funny. One thing I forgot to mention as well, so the film was shot with Panavision cameras on anamorphic lenses using Eastman Kodak 35mm stock film. The second audio commentary, which isn't available on YouTube anywhere, is only available on this set, like I said, is by not only a NASA consultant, the same one who also double-dipped for Deep Impact, so he had to keep stumped about both productions, but the production designer and the cinematographer also share a commentary track on this, again recorded separately, edited together. Is really interesting to listen to. Obviously the NASA consultant, Armageddon had full cooperation with NASA. They actually filmed a couple of space shuttle launches, which are actually in the film. They had full access to all of their laboratories, the underwater training facility with the largest underwater tank in the world, and the vacuum chamber, all filmed in actually at NASA. The NASA consultant commentary does pick out, this ain't real, this was changed, they did this for that reason, justifies a lot of the inaccuracies, but makes it very clear that Michael Bay was made aware of what inaccuracies were gonna be done, and Michael Bay still proceeded to do this because it looked cool. He wasn't interested in reality, he wanted it just to purely look cool, and it does. It really does look cool. So the cinematographer, production designer, they just give their memories of on the film, and it's a really interesting commentary. It's worth again picking this version up just to listen to that commentary, which isn't available anywhere else. Now, I will also link down below 2 other sort of mini documentaries purely about the making of the space shuttles that the team did. It's like filmed by somebody. It's never been made official anywhere, and it's really interesting. It's a 2-part thing, about 8 minutes a piece, and it's really interesting to watch. And there's also a Leonard Nimoy documentary which must have been filmed or done for the History Channel or something, and it talks about asteroid strikes, a little bit about the movie. That's quite worth a watch. I'll link that down below as well, so you've got like a full package of material. None of those links appeared anywhere else in any other official release. Now, you also get some color bars on the first disc, so you can optimize your setup. And the film comes with Dolby Digital 5.1, which I'll talk about in a moment, about the picture quality and the sound quality. Now on disc 2, you actually get a quite good array of extras. All these extras on disc 2 appear on the Blu-ray and the 2-disc version on DVD. I'm pretty sure it was Walt Disney that made these extras, as they were able to port them to other versions. So you get about 6 little featurettes about key special effects sequences from the movie that are, talked about in detail, with what I've got to say is the coolest explosion ever put to celluloid. Like, this was planned out meticulously and it looks amazing, and it's in the film. I won't spoil which one it was, but honestly, it's worth watching that one. It's also got it's got a gag reel about 6 minutes, deleted scenes of about 5 minutes, as well as trailers, production stills, and interviews with Aerosmith, and the music video, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, which I actually thought they wrote that song. Turns out they didn't. They were just brought in to sing it because they're, Steve Tyler's daughter's in the film. So I actually thought that they wrote that song. Only did I find out now that they didn't write that song. The song was already written for the film on the behest of Michael Bay, because he realized, hey, I haven't got like a Titanic song here for my film. And I think the love story aspect was really shoehorned in at the last minute because of Titanic's success, and Michael Bay thought, I'm making Titanic in space, so yeah, let's go for it. Love story it all the way with a cool song at the end. And they kind of rushed to make that, but it was honestly a really good song. The extras are really they're probably equal just to under an hour to get through them all. But this set, like I said, is totally worth it. Now, the picture quality, the sound quality, obviously this is a DVD, okay? It's not going to have the best visual look on a 4K display. I have a 4K OLED TV, LG, I think it is, and obviously a DVD, scaled up to 4K isn't going to look the best. So I did try this set. This is a Region 1 set only. It's not available in Region 2. I did try it in my 4K Blu-ray player. It would not play at all. It does play with a button hack Region 1 Blu-rays, but it doesn't play DVDs. So I had to boot up my Sony DVD player, which has the ability to play Region 1. I have a composite cable running from that into my amplifier, which has some comb filtering and noise reduction systems on board, and from there a composite signal going to my Kramer 728 box, which is an amazing scaler. It scales the picture of 480 interlaced, it deinterlaces it, and expands it to 1080p. I did turn off all the filtering options that are available on the Kramer, just because it gives it a real digitalized look. It did enhance the colors, but it sort of makes it look a bit, digitally processed. So I stopped all that. Obviously it's set for NTSC, and I actually told my DVD player and the Kramer not to unsqueeze the anamorphically squeezed picture on this DVD. So what it sends to the TV is a squeezed version of 1080p from this 480 interlaced. My TV then takes that 1080p squeezed format, unsqueezes it, and expands it up to 4K. And I gotta say, I'll put some screenshots here. I was actually blown away by the transfer of 480 interlace to 4K progressive, like how good this picture looks. So I was able to really get into how good the transfer of this was. Now, I also studied the bitrate throughout the movie, and the bitrate, it is a dual layered DVD, so it has 2 layers, which I think equal to about 9 gig of storage on the disc. The bitrate was between 3 and 5 megabits per second. To me, I'd say slightly on the low side, but at no point did I ever see any macro blocking, any pixelation, any of those digital artifacts that indicate a low bit rate. It was picture perfect. Like, these screenshots here pretty much show, like, the colors actually were of Blu-ray quality. The black levels, obviously, because it's a low resolution, were darker than they should be. A little bit of tweaking on all three of my Kramer display, my DVD, and my TV sort of lifted that DVD presentation to a little bit of a higher elevation, to where I did not see any imperfections because it is coming from a DVD onto a 4K screen. The only issue I saw was at the very end of the film during the titles, where you can visibly see the rainbow effect, which is a digital side effect artifact. It's because of the format, and that must be done through, seen throughout the film. If it was on the end titles, I saw it visibly noticeable on the end titles. I didn't actually see it visibly noticeable throughout the film with all the colors and the action happening, but I was blown away by the picture quality of this sort of upscale. So the picture quality of the Criterion, being a new digital transfer supervised by Michael Bay, a director's cut, I gotta say, was really good. Probably just about the same as any other version, I'd say, on Blu-ray, on DVD. Like, the detail I saw on the Blu-ray was still present on the DVD. Obviously, it wasn't as pin sharp as it is on the Blu-ray. It's not as highlighted with the whites as it is on Blu-ray, or the darks, maybe. Yeah, the darks, I'd say, are there. But obviously, there is a slight little bit of digital noise where that's not going to take place on the Blu-ray because of the laser. That's the only thing. This uses a red laser, which has a longer wavelength, which means there is more susceptible to rainbow effect and other digital noise that can get in the way of the picture. Blu-rays use a shorter wavelength blue laser, which has pretty much zero noise degradation. So I was pleasantly surprised. Out of all, I'd probably give this a 7 out of 10 for the overall. The fact that a lot of these extras, the director's cut of the film, doesn't appear anywhere else, is making this actually quite collectible. Now, you might be thinking, well, why'd you get the DVD if you're collecting Laserdiscs? Well, the Laserdisc version of the Criterion Armageddon cut is actually about £101 on eBay, whereas this only cost me a tenner. So the benefit to having it on DVD versus Laserdisc is that it's going to be a cleaner transfer when watching it, but there will be digital artifacts that aren't present on the Laserdisc, which is uncompressed video, meaning actually a lot of sort of the edge enhancement that's visible on here doesn't take place on that copy, but the rainbow effect doesn't take place, although there are other digital noise side effects that will take place. But this one is watchable totally. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed listening to the commentary tracks, going through the special features, and I totally recommend the film. And if you can find a copy of the Criterion, it's my preferred way to watch it from now on. So I really do hope Walt Disney are able to get Criterion to release their version and be able to have the director's cut on the 4K version. Fingers crossed. You'll probably know from when you watch this because it's already out, and hopefully they make some more documentaries. What was really lacking in this set, or any set, is a full-on hours documentary about the film, the writing process, the filming, behind the scenes. There are a few snippets, but I just felt there could be more. That, a retrospective documentary, would be pretty cool to have as an extra. I don't think they're going to do new cast or crew interviews for the 4K release, because obviously Bruce Willis isn't well. Michael Bay's, I don't know what he's doing now. He's in hiding, I think, after Transformers. But there's just a lot of the cast members who probably aren't available or have passed away, and I just don't think we're gonna get that. Maybe some of the crew will be available to talk, but that'll probably be about it. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this. In the future, we're going to check out some more Criterion. I've got The Rock, I've got RoboCop lined up for in the future, as well as dive into Walt Disney's attempt to create a Criterion edition called the Vista series. And there was only about 5 or 6 titles released on the Vista series, and we're going to dive into all of them. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll take care. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.